podcast. My guest today again is Marie-Judith Jean-Louis. MJ is a artist, graphic designer, entrepreneur, social media marketer, wears so many hats, and she's amazing at each one of them. And I interviewed you last time. We talked about, I think, social media tips and stuff in general.
Yeah. Social media, arts, a little bit of the new business. So a little bit of everything, really.
Yeah. Mostly focused, as I remember, on entrepreneurship and social media and merging kind of an artist's mind with a business mind, which is something I'm always interested in as well. But today I really wanted to talk to you about mental health in regards to social media for entrepreneurs, but for anyone as well who is engaged in social media, because I don't think I'm probably alone in feeling that the last, I don't know, probably a couple of years has been really detrimental to my mental health in terms of the way that COVID has happened and people have sort of retreated back into their homes and been isolated. And then the connection to the outside world, very much of that has started to become, if it wasn't already for some people, mostly social media.
Yeah.
And so that's how you figure out what your friends are up to. It's how you get the news for most people our age and younger. It's how you interact with society at large, really. So I've noticed the toll on my mental health, how anxious it makes me, how upset it makes me, how addicted I get to the apps and to the device itself. So yeah, I just love because you have such a good take on it whenever we talk about this stuff.
Thank you.
So first of all, what's your relationship to that these days and how do you manage that?
Yeah, I tend to curate what I see, because the thing is, I see stuff from my client, I also see stuff for myself. I tend to curate what I see, and I tend to be very detached with respect to what's going on, especially after seeing movies like Social Dilemma and things like that. You kind of realize how everything is curated. And I've had the habit for many years of not watching the news, because to me, it's just there to be able to steer your emotion and nothing productive comes out of it. So perhaps it's a question of practice, but I practice detaching myself as much as possible from it and not taking things personally, knowing that it's just a portion of the reality that's presented on social media and in the news. So that's been my trick so far.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's just literally less consumption, and also the way that you understand it, knowing that it's not necessarily representative of reality. And so if you see something that makes you mad, or if you see something that upsets you, you know that it's kind of doing its job, really.
Well, I guess it's mostly a question of perspective, because I know that everything that I see could be curated, and it's like carefully edited to be able to stir emotion or get certain reaction. And so a lot of the time I'm going to look into like who's benefiting from presenting that online. So I take a more like a bird's eye view of what's going on, and I try as much as possible to not attach my emotion to it, because at the end of the day, my emotions is not going to, even if it's something that makes me mad, like the whole BLM and stuff like that, that was like last year, it's not going to really provide, like, do anything better to change anything. Like when all that stuff was going on, there was I discovered a lot of stuff that I didn't know about, but like me getting mad or arguing with people was just not beneficial. So the only way that I thought was useful to be able to help out was, like, for a while I just posted educational content about stuff that people didn't know about when it comes to history. And that, to me, like, as you always want to do something, so that was like my contribution. Anybody who wants to know what's been happening and why this is happening, just check my stories, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. And then, so when you did that, though, I would imagine that there's, some kind of, like, you're always going to get a reaction where people are like, oh, that's not true, or I don't think that's right, or whatever. So do you have a method for, like, engaging with negativity when it comes back towards you for posting about something emotionally charged?
Yeah, well, I guess I was really careful to put just like facts, facts is kind of easy because it's also subjective. Things that were more there to inform, as opposed to say like this person is bad or this person is bad. It's kind of like, this is what happened. And whatever negativity that I got, and thankfully I didn't get a lot, just to take it with compassion and kind of think about the fact that they just, like, people don't know that they don't know. So I can't really fault them for that. I keep in the back of my mind that people are doing the best they can with what they know at the time. So I have this kind of, like, for lack of better term, higher view. It's like, well, that's all they know. Like, and me fighting against them is not going to make it better. Like, even when there was a whole thing with the election, in the US election, which stirred a lot of emotion with people, where, like, heavily on one side and heavily on the other side. And I'm just like, let's just be human being. It really doesn't matter. At the end of the day, whoever wins, the people are still going to have the same lifestyle. Like
Yeah.
it's not really going to change anything. So
Right.
let's focus on that. Like maybe
Yeah.
these people are mad for something. They probably have a reason for it. I try to understand that as opposed to trying to prove my point or trying to get people to see my side because everybody's got different perspective.
Sure.
So it's really like take a step back
And listen, I guess too, as well. Like
yeah,
it sounds like.
with compassion, but
Yeah.
like try to put yourself in the other person's shoe.
Right.
And like even if like and know that sometimes they just don't know, like that's what they've been brainwashed to think, that's their view. And a lot of the time also people are just scared because if they start thinking in a different way, it affects their identity, so they're going to be fiercely defending.
Protective. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
without even thinking about it. It's like, my gosh, if I don't think that way, I'm not going to be part of that group anymore. If I'm not part of that group anymore, who am I? So
Yeah,
I keep that in mind.
There's a lot of things I've been noticing recently where it's kind of like calling people out for not posting online about something. So like if you stay silent now, you're part of the problem. And there's a lot of famous quotes like, you know, if you what's the one? I think it's Desmond Tutu, like if you stay silent or if you remain neutral in moments of conflict, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. And there's all these quotes that make you hear something and be like, I don't want to do that. And you're like, so it kind of shames you into, or, you know, see posts about it, you know, we need people to keep the momentum going, keep posting, keep sharing. And what I feel when I observe that is there's not a lot of thought about personal mental health when that in social justice movements. There's some for sure, like some people are talking about it, but the emphasis on what does it cost you to constantly be educating yourself, following the news, researching political movements, political histories, backgrounds of a politician, and what is your emotional capacity? So there doesn't seem to be, at least in what I'm observing, a lot of emphasis to say like, we need help maybe. And I think, you know, like if you're an activist for a movement, you're like, we want people to post this, but also take care of yourself.
Of course.
And don't let your anger consume you.
Of course. I find that a lot of the time, like these people have an agenda. It's a trap in a sense, because it's like, we want you to be on our side. That's basically what it is. Like, I want you to do things for me because I want you to be on my side so then I can make my group a little bit bigger. But it has nothing to do with actually solving the problem. Because like, yes, perhaps some people don't say things on social media, but they're actually doing something in their community. They don't have to put that on social media all the time.
Right.
So this whole shame thing is really just like a trap to be able to get people on their way. I hope you're not hearing the
yeah, I am, but it's okay. Yeah. I hear that too. And so, you know, what would you say to people, let's say, who are socially conscious, they're socially minded, they feel like they want to post about something that they care about or something that's bothering them? You know, whether it's the issue of police brutality, whether it's the issue of like Israel and Palestine, whether, you know, whatever it is that's happening, that somebody feels motivated to say like, oh, I think something and I want to say something.
Yeah.
What would you say to those people in terms of how to go about it, how to take care of themselves while going about it, that sort of thing?
I think the first thing is to check your intentions before even posting. Why are you posting? Are you posting because you want to be part of the group? Are you posting because you want to establish your status? A lot of the time people are posting, it's more of an ego thing than anything else, or just to be part of the group, but it's not really to do anything specific. Are you posting just to be able to provide information? Then it doesn't matter what the reaction of people are. Are you posting to be able to stir up reaction and start like a conversation or even start a fight to be able to assert your position? But if you're posting to be able to, like, I don't see how posting is going to help solve a situation other than inform people. Everything else, as far as I'm concerned, is to assert your position for an ego thing and to not be left out. in terms of like group, to be able to let people know I'm part of this group or I'm part of that group.
Just to keep credibility in your group, to say,
Yeah.
here's my statement on this piece of news,
Yeah.
so that I can demonstrate that these are my people and these are my beliefs and this is my
Exactly.
identity. Yeah.
Exactly. And it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, because it's just like it's a showpiece. It's kind of like a front, but it doesn't say anything about what you're actually doing in your real life. Like, for example, all the people that put like the black square when it was BLM, like that doesn't really mean anything. It just says like, oh, I'm it's cool. It's a cool thing to do. Everybody else is doing it. I'm part of it. So people will
I don't want to stay
think that I'm not
silent.
racist.
Yeah. Right.
But some people can put the black square and still be racist.
Yeah,
like,
right.
It doesn't really mean anything. So
Right.
the whole social media thing is good to inform, is good to be able to get to know what's going on. But in terms of actually doing something tangible, it's not doing anything. Like I saw something that was really interesting actually this morning in terms of the Palestinian and Israel thing. I think it was on TikTok. People in Italy had like a bunch of shipments of weapons that were going to Israel, and they decided not to ship because they realized where it was going. So I'm like, well, that's where you make a difference.
Right.
When you actually have the position to do something, they're like, no, we're not going to do it because we don't believe in like more killings and stuff like that, and we know exactly where that's going, so we're not want to take part of it. That makes a difference.
That's a tangible, that's something that has real life consequences. Yeah,
exactly, because they had the power to do it.
I wonder where does this idea come from, do you think? And does it have any basis in actual reality? And I don't know if you even know this, but can you trace like hashtag use or whatever to any kind of political or real life change? Do you know if like, or is it all just like, does it all just exist online and then it, you know?
As far as I'm concerned, other than awareness, it doesn't really do anything. And the thing is, people take advantage of it to promote whatever. Like I saw, which is kind of sad because of the whole Palestinian Israel thing going on. Now there's ads about it. Like people are taking advantage of that to be able to create an ad, to be able to collect money for whatever. And I'm like, really? There's already commercials on YouTube about that? Like, what the hell? So
and it's and it certainly becomes like, it becomes a game too, and a corporate move, right?
Yeah.
So for example, you know, Nike chose to stand with Colin Kaepernick because they said, okay, we think, not because Nike's a good corporation because they have morals, it's they're like, we think that enough of our people would agree with Colin Kaepernick and what he's doing, so let's side with him. And then a company who is more conservative and doesn't like the idea of what Colin Kaepernick is doing, they would post some other kind of thing saying like, we stand with the NFL or whatever, because they've said, okay, this is our niche market. We think that probably, you know, more of our market is there. And so, you know, really what an individual is doing, it seems like to me, a lot of this stuff is about not only, so if we go to entrepreneurs, it's not only signaling to your tribe, it's also signaling to your market.
Of course, definitely.
So that's why when you see companies make a statement on a social justice issue, it's like, we didn't need Red Lobster to chime in here and like tell us what they think about what's going on. Right? So yeah, they're capitalizing on something real and something like very important, but they're doing it cynically. So how do you, so then if you want, like, so would you if somebody is let's say somebody's just very socially active, socially minded, like for example, I have people in my life who are very, you know, what some people would call social justice warriors. They're always like, you know, going to the things and like posting and trying to do the social media thing for their beliefs. And I know it's because they really do think that they're helping or want to be helping. They really are sincere about what they're posting. So if you are like that, if you're somebody who really believes that social media posting will make a difference, or you want to do something, or it's just for you to feel like you're contributing in some way, as a business person, what would you advise to an entrepreneur when it comes to making a statement on a social issue?
It's interesting because I mean, perhaps I'm a little biased, but I still have trouble believing that posting something on social media is actually going to make a difference when you want to help people. Like
Yeah.
as a company, if you want to help people, help people.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's glamorous to help people when it's like something that's in the media. It's not so glamorous to actually help a homeless person that's like right next to your office.
Yeah, right.
And that's what's going to make the difference.
Matilda is just shouting her agreement with you. Yeah.
She heard the sirens before. No?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like, I mean, again, other than information, I don't really see, I have a hard time seeing the difference, because the thing is, there's so many people in our area that needs help, like right close to us, like neighbors, homeless person, like even people that we know that we have no idea that they're struggling with, like people dying or people being sick. It's like there's so many things that we can do, but people don't talk about that, or they even do any work with respect to that. Even just talking to somebody who's depressed, you know that person's not feeling good. You see them in the neighborhood all the time, but you're like, oh, I have to go and do work. But then I'm going to post on social media that I support this or I support that.
Yeah.
Are you really helping? Or are you just doing that just to boast?
Yeah. It's a performance.
Yeah, well, I mean, because that's what we're used to. It's not people's fault. We've been brainwashed to it. But when you actually take the time to take a step back, do you really want to help? If you really want to help and feel good, do something simple. It doesn't have to be complicated.
Yeah.
Just talking to, there's so, especially now. I saw that there's like over 100,000 jobs that were lost in Toronto since the last year in COVID. A lot of people are feeling really crappy right now.
Yeah.
So just giving them a little bit of positivity makes a huge difference.
Right.
And then you help, but you're not going to get the clouts from, you're not going to get likes or reshare by doing something like that. So you gotta start thinking about, like, do I really want to help? And actually, when you do that type of help, you actually feel good and not depressed, because you actually see that you're making a tangible difference in somebody's life.
Yeah. That's really, really good advice. And why do you think, I mean, I have my own sort of thoughts about this, but why do you think people are so much more likely? Is it laziness? Is it like fear? Why are people more likely to post about something than to do it? Is that laziness?
It's easy.
Yeah.
It's easy. Like we're such in a society, sadly, of like, the mech society. Everything's fast and easy. The same thing with the swipe. Like everything is kind of like instant. It's like, okay, I post something, I've done my part.
Yeah.
Easiest thing I could do. That's the problem, because to actually help, it takes effort. You have to get out of your comfort zone to be able to
talk to someone face to face.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, right? So you have to get away from the shyness, or they're like, what is that person going to think? I'm weird, and all these type of thing, insecurities, whatever. But you have to make an effort to be able to make it work. It doesn't just happen on its own just because you click on something.
Yeah.
The same as like people, but we're so used to that. Like the same as people that are trying to lose weight or whatever, they're going to go and like have special diet and go do surgery and stuff like that. No, it's just eat healthy and exercise. That's it.
Yeah.
Everything else is like, we're trying to make it go fast. No, that's not what it is. You have to have to plan and actually want to be healthy.
Little incremental changes that you make add up to what you really want, but we want a quick fix.
You make it part of your character. We're like, a lot of the time we're trying to do these like quick fix for everything, quick fix for a relationship, quick fix for diet, quick fix for even for earning money. But it's like, there's got to be a little bit of work.
Yeah. And we don't see that too. And that's the other unfortunate thing I think about social media is, unless you follow somebody like a YouTuber or something, and you follow them when they were very small, and then you see, and they show you their lives and they show you all the things that they do. And then like 10 years later, like you don't really realize that whoever is projecting success, there's a story there. Either, it's bullshit and they're just like taking a picture in a private jet, and it's like they're going to run away as soon as security comes or whatever it is. Or like Lil Bow Wow, remember that? He took a picture in the private jet and it just wasn't his.
Oh, really?
And yeah. You don't remember that? Was a couple of years ago, and it was hilarious. And you just kind of go, I mean, he's like he was a star too. So the fact that he felt he had to do that was certainly part of something. But the other side that you don't see is all the hard work or the effort or the time that it takes to get there. Absolutely. And what's really unfortunate to me as a business owner is that I feel like I need to be on Instagram and Facebook, LinkedIn. I think those are the main ones I use. I also use YouTube. Sometimes I use Twitter very, very infrequently because I hate Twitter so much. So I think I have to have that,
Mhm.
those things.
Yeah.
And as you and I have worked together, we know that in order to get your message out there, you have to be somewhat consistent, and there's a certain amount that you have to post, and there's
Mhm.
certain things that are good to say. So how on earth do you navigate that as a business owner where you're like, I want my business to succeed and do well. I don't want to forego this free, really easy channel of
Mhm.
marketing, but it's destroying my mind. Like,
Yeah.
how
You
do you
got to be
navigate that?
really careful. The thing is to, in a way, to not be attached to it and remember the fact that there's a lot of human beings behind the whole thing. Because sometimes we get so wrapped up into like numbers and likes and all these type of things, we forget the main goal of social media. Like one of the benefits is like we can actually communicate with people from all over the world and actually share common interests and
Right.
build together. So to
Mm.
not, because the thing is, as soon as we start counting all those followers as just numbers to be able to gain something out of it, we're kind of like detaching from the humanity that's also part of the social media. Because the beautiful thing about social media is that we actually can communicate with people from all over the world, but we have to remember that we're communicating with humans as
Yeah.
opposed to just numbers and avatars and like people that are going to like my stuff and people that are going to be potential clients.
Yeah.
So it's to always come back to that, and also not be too attached with numbers and all these type of thing. Like even if you're just making the difference in one or two person's life. Like I have on my social media, I don't have as much time as I used to be able to use mine, but I would put artwork and thoughts and stuff like that, and every so often I would have people that would engage with the art and just communicate and tell me their own life story. And that's not in the public chat, it's in the private chat.
Yeah.
You can see that it's actually making a difference. And they're like,
Hmm.
they're happy to see you. And one person that bought my artwork was like, oh my gosh, like I still have your artwork. Whenever I see a cloud, I think about you. And it makes me smile like
Mm.
that. Like there's not 10,000 people. It's like one or two people that I was able to connect with. And then we keep in touch through social media. That's the humanity that people kind of forget about.
Yeah.
A miracle, because one of those person, I think that one of the guys somewhere in the US, I don't even know where, the other woman's in the UK. Like I'm probably never going to see them in my life, but we still have like
A
a
connection.
cool exchange, a cool connection type thing.
Yeah.
So that's one of the beauty of social media, and you never know how far that can go. That's another thing too. Like the fact that you're able to connect with somebody from on the other side of the planet and give something positive, you like the butterfly effect. You have no
Mm.
idea how that positivity is going to continue like for years to come. I don't know, but just to know that I'm part of that is a good thing, and I think
Yeah.
people need to remember
And
that.
that comes back to the artist versus business person's mindset.
Mm-hmm.
An artist usually, in my experience, does not measure their own success based on numbers.
Mm.
If they really care about their art, they
Yeah.
go, how many people felt changed in some small way or some, major way?
Mm-hmm.
How transformative was the experience for the person viewing it, whether they came to your play or read your book
Mm-hmm.
or saw your show or bought a piece of your a piece of your artwork
Yeah.
or listened to your music.
Yeah.
When I do music, and I had one woman reach out to me. I don't know if I've told this story to
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah. I
or
remember that. Yeah.
yeah, but she told me that her child had passed away during COVID, and that my music was helping her in some small
Mm-hmm.
way to get through the day. And you hear something like that and you're like, Jesus, I was just making it for myself because I
Yeah.
wanted to make some music. And I was just kind of like, does anybody like it? Is this okay? And then somebody had such a sad and beautiful experience with it and reached out to let me know. And you kind of
Yeah.
go, well, that's worth, yeah, you can't put a price on that. And
Yeah.
you can't really quantify what that's worth. It's more important than so many things.
Mm-hmm.
So how
And
can, but as a business owner, there are interested parties,
yeah.
whether you have investors or shareholders
Mm-hmm.
or a business partner, or a CFO who wants to know where the money's being spent and what is the return on your investment. How do you not get caught up in the numbers when you have all those factors to think about? Like, social media takes time and money,
Yeah.
to curate and
Mm-hmm.
to use, and ideally, if you're a business, the use of it should have some kind of ROI in sales numbers or in. So yeah. So how do you like hold that reality, but also not get caught up in it?
Yeah, I kind of hold them close but distant. And even before that, one of the things that I want to say, like even business owners as well have an opportunity. It's not just artists, it's just a human part of people. So whether like you don't have to be an artist to be able to make a difference in somebody's life,
Right.
as an entrepreneur as
Yeah.
well, as long as you remember the humanity behind the people that are communicating with you. But in terms of, it's so hard because like quantifying how much you're going to impact somebody's life that they're going to remember you and then want to either recommend you and go and work with you, like it's, there's no way to measure that because like,
Right.
and the thing is, at the end of the day, like most people buy out of emotion, right? They don't buy because you presented like all the numbers correctly, like it's part of it, but at the end of the day is if it feels right, they feel emotionally connected, then they're going to be able to buy from you.
Right.
And once when you connect with them through humanity, you're like creating some sort of relationship. Eventually, if it's not them, it's going to be their family or their friends or whatever. They're going to recommend you because they like you. That's how eventually some of the money is going to come in. But in terms of, maybe because I'm more of an artist than a engineer, although I do have the engineer on the side as well, like I feel like it's hard to quantify. You just intuitively know that when you treat people well and you take care of them, they're going to like you and you're going to benefit from it
Yeah.
at some point. But to
People
actually
can,
quantify it,
yeah, people can sense generally when somebody is truly there for
mm,
them and is doing something that they believe in and they think will help. And yeah, so a lot of the time, if I work with a tech entrepreneur and they're like, well, I don't want to necessarily, be the face of my company or put out content online. And then usually what happens after I explain this to them is I go, your business, you started your business to solve a problem, otherwise there'd be no business. If nobody has a problem, then you don't have a business. So what is that problem and what are the adjacent problems around it, and talk about that. Even if it's a stupid 15-second TikTok video where you're going boop, boop, and like pointing at the screen,
yeah,
those things, like that
absolutely,
can help somebody. It could just be a way
absolutely,
of thinking, can change them. And so if you do that in a way that makes people like you, makes people trust you, just makes them feel a little bit better about their day, or go, that was interesting. Like we love people who do that for us. Like all my favorite media people or, artists, is they give me some kind of feeling of like not being alone. And
yeah.
so if you're able to do that, even if you sell some weird little piece of computers, but if you can sell the like solution around that and talk about it and make people feel better, and
Mhm.
then you have provided that kind of intangible service that you're thinking of, and people will love you for it.
Yeah, because I mean, most of the time, if you go to a vendor and the vendor's an asshole, most of the time you're not going to buy from them. You'd
Yeah.
rather go back or go to another store or whatever. And then when it's people that you like, or you go to a restaurant, and for example, like a long time ago when we could,
Oh yeah.
and the
That whole thing. Yeah.
when was that? And then the waiter is like super nice, super attentive. You obviously are going to want, like if you're a decent person, you're going to be like, oh man, that person was so awesome, I'm going to give extra tip. Like you can't help but like anybody who treats you well, you want to, there's an exchange. It's like it's just natural, you want to be able to give back, right?
Right. And it's funny how rare that is, that we love it so much in a way. Do you know what I mean? Like my experience, what I remember from like waiters or different people or I actually went to get a massage recently because
Mm-hmm.
my wife's job just got benefits. So it's like
Oh, nice.
80% off massages. Yeah. and I went, and there was this amazing massage therapist, and she was from China, and we told her I lived in China. We were just chatting. She
Oh,
was
nice.
so good at her job, but she was also just so lovely as a person. And so when I left, I tipped her 30% because I was like, to somebody that awesome stands out, not just because they're great, but because of so many people aren't.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was thinking, I had actually gone to a massage person a while ago, and she was just kind of not nice, not
Yeah.
I just didn't really like her because of the way that she sort of was, just her
Yeah.
personality. She wasn't very friendly, wasn't very warm, and it's incredible. So if you just put a bit of effort into being warm and kind and open,
Mhm.
it's amazing. Yeah, the impact you can have
Yeah.
on people.
And it's really a question of like allow yourself to be human, because we've been taught so much to be like robotic and we have to be professional and serious, and you can't be too friendly and all these type of things. But
Yeah.
at the same time, like that's what everybody wants. Everybody wants to
Yeah.
be appreciated and loved and stuff like that. So if you treat them like I'm sure whenever the robots are going to come and replace every job, like people are not going to like that. They're we
Yeah.
need human connection, human contact. That's what makes that's in like all the work, it's all unnatural. What's natural is the exchange and the communication and stuff like that. I feel that's why we're drawn towards these people, and the people that kind of like deviate from that and go more in the computer type of mindset, well,
Hmm.
you're not really going to get that many people that want to be part of your tribe. That's why the people that we enjoy the most popular one are the ones that are most personable.
Yeah.
Like when you think about all the influencer that you like the most, they have a lot of personality. They share a lot about not everything about their life, but they share something human that you can connect with
Yeah.
and feel like you kind of know them as a
I
friend.
know that person. Yeah. And so bringing it back to social media for
Mhm.
entrepreneurs, this is a question I have a lot we talked about like sharing your political opinions, but when it comes to sharing like difficult, let's say not even secrets, but difficult personal points in your life,
Mhm.
traumatic events, um, and the reason that you would share them is obviously so that you can either make some people feel not alone and share your story in order to make them feel better, or because it's kind of part of your story and what makes you who you are.
Mhm.
So when it comes to maybe more personal events, life events, personal histories, personal stories, what is your advice on that for entrepreneurs and how to share that and how much to share and all that sort of thing?
I think it really depends on the entrepreneur and their personality and how they want to be open with that stuff and where they are in their life as well,
Mm.
because like it really varies from one to the other. I just remember, for example, Tim Ferriss at some point shared like his suicide issues
Tim
after.
Ferriss?
Tim Ferriss, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, he had
right.
like a long blog post where he explained the whole thing, and it really helped people kind of like have a better understanding of who he was, where he's coming from, and why he's doing a bunch of stuff. But to tell people, it's really hard because it depends on where people are in their life, if they're ready
Yeah.
to share that, and if they're ready for the impact that that's going to have in their business as well,
Mm.
because not everybody is going to be open to that much vulnerability, because then it opens up vulnerability in themselves as well, and
Mm.
some other people are going to. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, as long as you're true to yourself and you're okay with the implication of what that's going to mean, then it's fine. Because I mean, I have this theory that despite the career and all these type of things, we still need to keep growing wherever that takes us in our career. Because your career is there for a while, but you still have to kind of live and be yourself. So you don't
Yeah.
just attach yourself to like I'm this, and then when I'm retired, then I don't know who I am anymore
Yeah.
because I was so attached to just that. So if you allow yourself to grow, just like a lot of actually just like Tim Ferriss, like I don't think he does the same thing that he did when he first started. Before, when he
Yeah.
first started, it was like the 4-hour work week, like all like how to make money, and now it seems to be more of a lifestyle type of thing. Like he's
Yeah.
changing, and
I
people
think
are
he talks
changing
a
with
lot
him.
about wanting to interview the most successful people in different areas and then bring
Hmm.
their wisdom to light,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and just use his kind of um, personality and his fan base and his
yeah,
curiosity and his work ethic to kind of share. He positions himself kind of like Lewis Howes as well.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
If people know who he is as the
Hmm.
anti-expert, but the fan. He's the fan of
Yeah,
everybody he's talking to, and he's like, I want to talk about this. And
yeah,
he's got
yeah,
this kind
yeah.
of smile. And one thing he does, which is quite striking to me, is on his website. He's like, I was molested as a kid.
Exactly.
I had this traumatic experience. I grew up. I struggled in school. I
Hmm.
felt really stupid all the
Hmm.
time. I was an athlete, but I was severely depressed, and then one day I sort of, I don't know what his like change story is, but I would just remember hearing that idea of just being like, and those are really personal things to
Yeah,
share.
yeah, yeah,
And
definitely.
the fact that he was able to do that, and I don't know. And I don't think there is a piece of advice you can give to anyone. Cause as you say, if you haven't dealt with your trauma and then you start talking about it on social media, that can be really no good. But to be able to say like, what happened to me is
Mhm.
part of who I am. And
Yeah,
if my business is part of who I am, which it kind of is,
Of
no matter what
course.
it is,
Yeah.
then there can be something very powerful about.
For sure. I think
Yeah.
it's to be okay with the change, because like as you talk about these things are going to change, and to be okay to put it in public so that you're going to have the input of other people. But some people grow in public. The cool thing about Lewis House is like, yeah, he started as an athlete, then he was like a LinkedIn professional,
Hmm.
then he did the podcast, and then he started opening up about like his trauma, and now he talks about
Interesting.
relationship.
Yeah.
So there's been like, it's not the same career. Like his career evolved as he evolved, and he just
Yeah.
put that online to share with people, which is a really cool thing. So as long as you're open to doing that, and open to not have control in over like where your career is going to go like 5-10 years from now, because you're opening up and growing at the same time, and you're fine with the change, then that's pretty good, because that's
Right.
basically what happened to him.
And I've also noticed that from a lot of people is when especially entrepreneurs who kind of have a personal brand, like they are their brand in a lot of
Mm,
ways, which I think a lot of entrepreneurs who have a product or a service that doesn't necessarily need them to be the brand, they can learn a lot from that and watching those personal branding people, because they are able to leverage that
mm,
to grow their audience. But yeah, often they share that kind of stuff once they have an audience, once they have a lot of people paying attention and they feel like, okay, I feel like you guys care about me, so I'm gonna
mm.
say something personal.
Well, I would say it varies, because if I think about this guy named Gio, I think I remember he had a podcast with Mike that I listened to not too long ago, and he grew his following after he shared. I think he was doing like a 55-day fast, and that's when and he actually shared like his process to do it, and that's when
Right.
his following uh, grew up type thing,
Right.
increased.
Yeah.
So like there's no like one way, because we're so different. We have so many different types of lifestyle.
Hmm.
Where's the guy? There's this other guy too. Oh, I'm forgetting his name. uh he became like a Nike, sponsored by Nike, because he wanted to become like an athlete. Oh yes, he used to work in the music industry, make a lot of money, but he was really really big, and then he lost a lot of weight, and he wanted to run a marathon and become like a Nike, sponsored by Nike
Yeah.
athlete. And then he eventually did that, but his by sharing his struggle of trying
Yeah.
to lose weight,
Right.
that's when his following kind of like went up. So you never know
Yeah.
what
It's true.
happened.
It's that's why I usually try to say, lead with your story and lead with something vulnerable that people can connect to, especially if it's about what it is that you do and what it is that you solve.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people say if you're an entrepreneur and your problems are your customers' problems, then that's the best. And,
Yeah.
opening up about your fears and about your worries and about your past, it can be really, um, it can be really powerful. It can be really meaningful to people. But I think a lot of people, myself included, struggle with the idea of, am I doing this just for the likes and the follows and the sales and the
Mm,
clout? And that's something I struggle with too. I struggle with it before I post anything. Am I doing this because I want to say something and I want to make
mm-hmm.
people feel better by reading it, or give them some value? Or am I
Mm-hmm.
doing this because I want people to like me and share this, and repost it and then pay attention to me so that they'll give me money one day?
Yeah. I feel like the most important thing, and again, that's bias, that's just like the way that I'm thinking, is to focus on who do you want to be, how do you want to be, and then just like keep that as your North Star. Because I'm
Hmm.
very much into personal development. Like who's the kind of person that I want to be, and what are my steps to be able to go there, and then share my journey. And I don't really have a huge amount of control into like what's that's going to look like, and it's fine. And when you're not trying to control where the narrative is going to go, but you're basically bringing people in with you, then you're not really trying to get likes, because you don't have any control over what's going to happen. You're
Yeah.
just like, this is me, I'm sharing. Hopefully it helps people. If it doesn't help people, that's fine. But at least I'm moving forward, because that's like my
Yeah.
goal.
Right.
So I think if you keep that in mind, it should be fine.
Interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really, really interesting. And it's almost like flipping things in a way, because there's something about the business person's mindset, which is like, what do you want? Tell me what you want and I'll give it to you. And there's something desperate and gross about that if you're,
Mm,
an audience member. And there's
Of
something
course.
great about the artist who's like, I'm going to sing a song and it's really scary to do that. And I'm really emotionally attached to the song. And it's about something very deep in my life. And I'm going to perform it. And you might laugh at me, but I'm going to do it anyways. And that's what we love and celebrate, really. And that's why artists and actors and all those people are so venerated in our society, because they're able to do that. And people really connect to that. So if you're, I guess what you're saying and what we're both saying is that as a business person, if you're able to cultivate that sense of like, I'm doing this because I want to, and I hope it helps people, but fuck it if it doesn't, who cares? I'm just going to do it anyways. That seems to be the way of going about it.
And also, you don't need to share everything, because you still have to do, like, so you don't have to share everything in public all the time, because you still have to do the work anyways. You can share every so often, and you can still have your business on the side. So like, you're doing your business, you're also working on yourself, and every so often you add part of your personal life into your business social media. So like, it kind of, people kind of make their own deduction of understanding where you're coming from, but you don't necessarily have to put yourself in a position where you have to share everything in every single step, because then it doesn't become natural and flowing type thing. Because like the main goal is like, I want to become a better person, for example. So I'm going to do the work no matter what, like on a consistent basis. And every so often, well, this is what happened today. Like, I had a success, or this is what happened today. I had a failure. But you don't need to always, whenever you're going to do the work for your personal growth, to think, okay, well, I'm going to have to post that on social media, because then it kind of like interfere with the whole goal is to just become a better person.
I have a really hard time when I do things like meditation and yoga and things that I'm doing to, calm my mind and be more relaxed and peaceful. I have a realization that comes from meditation. And my first thought is, oh, I should write a blog about that.
Okay.
Or I should tell my audience, I should talk about that. And it's kind of awful because, I mean, in a way that's creative output, that those ideas can turn into something. But the whole point of the meditation is to not allow those thoughts to consume you. I mean, whatever thoughts come up, that's part of the meditation process. But what happens to me is I'm sitting there and I'm, my eyes are closed and I'm breathing and I'm just trying to relax and everything. And then like, I notice like, oh, when my breath, let's just say when my breath is really expansive and then I breathe out, my shoulders droop. And that can be really, really great because it communicates this sort of body language. And I'll start going down this path of like, how could I say something interesting about that on video or on a blog post? And how can I talk about that? And how could I package that for my audience on social media? But then it's 5 minutes later and I've wasted 5 minutes of the meditation planning a social media post, which is kind of the opposite of what meditation is supposed to be. So I have this irony, and I know Richard Linklater, the filmmaker who did Dazed and Confused and who did you ever see Before Midnight?
No.
He tells a story. Before Midnight, it's a great movie. Ethan Hawke and I can't remember the name of the French actress who plays the girl, but it's about two young people who meet on a train and have this evening together. And it's part of a trilogy. It's an amazing movie. The first one especially is incredible.
Oh, I heard about it.
And they just kind of walk around and about this one?
I haven't seen it, but I heard about it because like the trilogy, when you said trilogy, I'm like, okay, I heard somebody told me about that.
To me, it's a must watch. But he was interviewed about this movie and he was saying he wrote it because he had this experience. So he was a young American man on a train, met a French woman, and they were walking around. But he said, I couldn't enjoy the date because I kept thinking, man, this will make such a great movie. And so he was just thinking, oh yeah, and then I can have a shot here, and then this is going to be a great scene. But he's like, I wasn't there with her, basically. I was in my own head planning out the movie. And that is such a tough thing because, that's the work. And he ended up making a brilliant movie that have helped so many people, but he wasn't able to be there and enjoy that moment with this person because he was too busy planning how he was going to turn it into art.
I think the problem with that is that we tend to think that if we don't plan it right at this moment, we're going to forget everything, which we're not. So for me, the trick is I meditate, and every so often I have some random download that I call them. And it's like, all right, it'll come back to me later on, and kind of like go back to 5-minute meditation. I don't really do it for much more than 10 usually. But and then once you're done with the meditation, allow yourself the time to be creative, and you're going to see that everything's going to come back. But at least you can enjoy being present during your meditation. And
I like that a lot. Yeah, it's basically setting aside time, and I've done this a couple times, and it's been amazing. Is setting aside the time to to journal or write something down after your meditation, because you are kind of,
Definitely.
open, and I find a lot of creative ideas do kind of flow
Oh, it's
when you
crazy.
quiet your brain down like that,
Yeah, yeah.
and there's something great about it.
I always meditate just before journaling, because there's tons, like I have books and books of, I don't even know, I'm starting to just give ideas away. There's
Yeah.
books and books of ideas. I just don't have the time for it. So yeah, you're not going to forget it, because I think that's the monkey mind or the ego. While you're meditating, it's like, no, you have to plan everything right now, and you're kind of not trusting that it's already within you anyway.
It's there somewhere, and you just,
yeah.
And of course, the whole practice of meditation is the idea of not allowing yourself to be consumed by any one thought. It's sitting back and observing the thought, allowing it to arise in your consciousness and go, oh, I'm having that thought. That's interesting.
Yeah.
And then letting it float away. And to me, to bring this whole thing full circle, that is really what social media kills in us, is the ability to be present in the moment with our breath, with our bodies, with the people we love, who we're with. It takes us to, Gaza and a protest in the streets of America. And it takes us all around the world when we're just sitting in one place, and it makes our heart race, and it pumps cortisol and adrenaline through us. And that is the opposite of a peaceful, relaxed, enjoyable mind.
Yeah, it plugs you in the matrix, for lack of better term, because
Yeah.
you're completely detached from your actual environment and completely into like that little screen and everything that's happening. And in real life, it's not really happening in real life. It's happening on your screen. Your life is still going on.
Yeah.
Like your dog is going to look at you and be like, what just happened? It's like,
and your dog needs to be walked, whether or not you're upset about something that's happening online.
But imagine that for the dog, right? The dog see you like all happy, and then you start looking at your little light box, and then and then the dog is like,
what happened?
There's no bugglers.
Yeah.
There's like what's going on type thing. It just kind of shows you how like it's so easy for us to, like, because our mind is so powerful, to just completely detach. And most of the time, and that's most of the time, people are not present. People are either in the past or in the future, and we kind of forget to just enjoy what's actually happening in our life right now, because that's the only thing that's real. Everything else is our imagination.
Yeah.
And then social media or anything on the internet, for a fact, it's our imagination.
Yeah. It's like being present at something that is not real, or it is real, whatever, a video of something happening is obviously real, but it's not the real version of it. It's a video representation of it, and there's a spin. It's been edited, it's been commented upon, it's been packaged, it's been presented to you at the right time. And so it really, to be, and to come like kind of to go a little philosophical about it, is you are of no use to anyone if you are constantly in that state of lack of presence and anxiety and depression.
Of course, yeah.
And if you can just make sure you're able to calm yourself down, then all of your other services rendered will be so much more useful.
I feel that you gain back your power when you actually are present, because when you are involved and you allow yourself to be involved in these things, you basically give your power away. And it's very disempowering to just be plugged into this emotionally draining machine and just let it just take all your energy, as opposed to when you're actually present, now you're in your full power and you can decide what you're going to do. So that's one of the things to kind of keep in mind. It's like, it's as beautiful as it is, like you need to, that's again my opinion, you need to decide to own your power and be like, okay, like this is great and all, but like I decide what I wanted. I'm not going to let social media or the news or whatever dictate how I feel. That's not the type of that's not who I want to be. And I have other things to do, like to just sit in front of the thing and just comment back and forth is not productive to my current environment.
I mean, I don't even know how people have time to do that. I barely have enough time to post my stuff that I need to for my business. I don't know how people are just sitting there going, what do you do? I can't believe you do blah, blah, blah. Like, the only like political post I've ever done, which was recently, it took me like an hour to write that. Like, it was a long time to like formulate what I wanted to say, even longer maybe. Like, and it was, it was like 200 words or 300 words, but there was something about it that I was like, okay, I want to take my time and say what I want to say. So people who are just like
constantly
out there, I don't know what they're doing.
they spend their time just going on other people's posts to be able to voice their opinion like all day, all night. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. You gotta unplug.
You gotta be present. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I think we'll leave it there for today, because it's, we could go on about this for forever. But thanks so much for being here, MJ. I really, really love your perspective on this sort of thing. And it's so interesting. It's, you've got, this is like what you do for a living, but you've also got such a healthy skepticism about it.
Oh my gosh, yeah, because if I didn't, I would go crazy.
Right. Yeah, totally.
It's a lot of social media.
So stay present.
Yes.
Don't let social media dictate your emotions, and just post as honestly and authentically about your journey and what it is that you're trying to do as you can, and then let the numbers do what they will.
Yeah, without expectation.
Right.
And keep your goal, your main goal.
Yeah.
Of whatever.
And don't stop it if you're not getting likes or whatever. Just keep going in the way that you
just keep going. You know, obviously observe. You don't want to insult anybody or these type of thing, but like, as long as you're true to yourself and you have good intention, I think everything else is going to kind of bring itself the way it's supposed to be. But
awesome.
Again, health, most important thing.
Yeah, mental health is the most important thing, and that's something you and I talked about. Have talked about a lot recently. Is like, when the mental health is deteriorating, take care of that. Take a step back, and certainly stay off social media.
Absolutely, 100%.
So where can people find you if they want your amazing social media services? If they want to learn about your Slow Love dating app or dating community, where do they go to find you?
I guess they can go on LinkedIn under my name. They can go to slove.com, where we're just working on the website right now, and Marie-Judith.com, and all my social media is connected all over the place. So
awesome. Yeah. Okay, and we'll post those links below the video as always.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you so much, MJ. It's awesome talking to you, and you stay safe and sane. I know you will. Yeah.
You too.
All right. See ya.